In this video, we'll be resurfacing our wasteboard. First thing we'll need to flatten our wasteboard is a flattening bit. We'll be using a 1.5 inch flattening bit for our wasteboard. Next, we will load our bit into the collet. Next, we are going to lower our entire Z-slider down by using the highest mounting holes. We're doing this because we are using a flattening bit which does not have the reach of a normal bit because it's much shorter. Now we need to move our spindle mount down on our Z-slider so that we can access the holes. If your X-rail has the extra third rail stiffy accessory, you'll notice that there are 2 more holes on our gantry. We are not going to use these 2 holes ever when we are mounting our Z-slider on here. We'll use the bottom 2 and the middle 2. We can now take our Z-slider and we'll notice if we do have a stiffy, we can set the motor in there and that will line up the top hole with the holes to mount it with. Next, we're going to install our 4 bolts to mount our Z-slider, but we are not going to tighten those down all the way at this time. Now that we have our 4 bolts installed, we're going to finish tightening them. Ensure that you don't over tighten them at this point because they will strip easily if you're trying to move them to a different hole later on. When creating a spoil board, we are working with the extreme limits of the machine. Working with the extreme limits of the machine may be a complicated task. When working with the extreme limits of the machine, we may receive a warning about the X, Y, or Z axis. These warnings let us know that our toolpath that we have loaded is outside of our machine's working area, the box that we drew with the V-bit in the previous video. The most common of these warnings is of the Z-axis not being able to reach far enough down. To rectify this warning, we're going to move our Z-slider all the way to its lowest position, and once we've done that, we're going to make sure that we have enough stick out from our bit to reach our working area.
This is an example of the out-of-limit warnings you may receive. These warnings show up when your toolpath would cut outside of the cutting area. In this case, the X-axis toolpath is too far to the left by 1.692 millimeters. We can solve this by moving the cutter to the right or moving the material to the right and re-zeroing our X, Y, and Z. Here we have the visual example our machine will give us. This visual pane will only show up on a networked computer. It will not show up on any screen that is connected directly via HDMI, such as the 10 or 7-inch screen that ships with the machine. Here we can see the machine's cutting area boundary represented by the teal-green square. The material we programmed in our CAD is the white square, and the green square is the toolpath that the cutter will be taking. You can see that the white square is outside of the teal machine cutting area square because it is too high in Z. We can see this in the toolpath status bar represented by the word over.
For this project, we have created in our design software a simple square that matches the size of our machine's cutting area. For this toolpath, we've created the XY starting point as the center of our cutting area. Next, we are going to be measuring to find the center of our cutting area. Our cutting area is not the same as our wasteboard. In our case, we cut our wasteboard 1/2 inch smaller. We will now measure from the corners of the box we engraved into our table that is now our cutting area. If we measure from the corner of our wasteboard, that will not be the same as our cutting area, our square, and will give us limit warnings. We can now measure from the corners of our cutting area, not our wasteboard, and we will make an X on our table to mark the center. With the center of our cutting area marked on our wasteboard, we are now ready to run the flattening program, with our first step being zeroing our X, Y, and Z. For those of you who purchased the Touch Probe, we will not be using it for this project. Because our probe point is in the center, we will be setting our X, Y, and Z manually. The first step of this process is to jog our X and Y to the correct position. Using the joystick, we have gotten it relatively close to our X and Y by using the faster speeds, and now that we have it almost exactly where we want it, we can slow it down using this button, and we can lower our Z to get a better idea of it. And now we can look and see very closely where we're at. Unlike when we're working on a normal project piece, it isn't necessary to be super precise when zeroing our X and Y axis. As long as we're within about a millimeter, we'll be okay. Once we've found the correct position of our X and Y, we're going to zero them using our screen. This column zeroes all of our axes. The top button does all three. This first one is our X, the second one is our Y, and the third is our Z, which we're going to wait on. You will now notice that our X and Y axis both show 0. Now that we have X and Y zeroed, we can come in here and we can slowly move this down and turn it at the same time. We'll continue to turn it as we move it down. And once we can no longer turn it, we're going to move it up just a small bit. And we're going to zero there. We'll now zero our Z, and now we can see that it is showing 0. At this point, our material is ready, our X, Y, and Z are zeroed, and we are ready to run our file. Now we are ready to load our file. We can see it here, flattening.ngc. We'll click open. For a surfacing bit with a larger diameter, we recommend lower RPMs. Check with your bit manufacturer for recommended feeds and speeds. Once the file is loaded, we can now turn on our router and press play to start the flattening operation. As you can see, MDF creates a lot of dust. For the purposes of this video, we did not use a dust boot or dust collection system, but we recommend using the proper PPE and dust collection. After surfacing, if your bit has not flattened the entirety of the wasteboard, you will need to re-zero off of our new surface and flatten again. If you look closely, you'll notice that the edges of our wasteboard have not yet been flattened. We've done this so that we can show you a second way to flatten your wasteboard. Many of our users are new to CNC and may not feel comfortable creating a flattening file in their CAD software. This is where our second option, Etch-a-Sketch mode, comes into play. If you purchase the optional joypad, you'll be able to flatten your wasteboard without any programming involved.
Start by using the right stick on the joypad to bring the Z down so that the bit just barely kisses our wasteboard. We can see that the X is ultra low speed, the A is low, B is high, and Y is the fastest speed. Once our bit is barely kissing our material, we are going to take our hand completely off of the right stick and make sure that we don't touch that again. Do not touch the right thumbstick during this operation. Now that our Z axis is in the correct position, we can use the left bumper and move along the Y axis and the right bumper to move along the X axis. Using the bumpers, we ensure that we're moving in a straight line and move front to back or side to side to surface our wasteboard. We can now move around our X and Y axis and surface our spoil board manually.
You'll notice how easy it was to jog the machine around and flatten the wasteboard using the joypad. This method can also be used to flatten large slabs. Once the process is over, we may notice a few slight ridges on our wasteboard. If the ridges are barely noticeable to the touch, nothing more needs to be done. If the ridges are more pronounced, we will need to go through a process called tramming. We will cover tramming in a future video. This concludes flattening a wasteboard on the Onefinity CNC.